The silence in the house was a familiar companion, a decade into our marriage. It was not an uncomfortable silence, not at first. It was the quiet hum of routine, the gentle backdrop to two lives, perfectly intertwined, yet somehow separate. Mark was a good man, a kind man, a stable man. Our life together was a picture of suburban bliss, a neatly mowed lawn, a comfortable home, shared laughter over dinner. Anyone looking in would have seen perfection. I saw it too. For a long time I believed it. But beneath the surface something had shifted. A subtle tremor, a barely perceptible crack in the foundation. I loved Mark, I truly did. But the passionate spark, the spontaneous joy, the feeling of being truly seen, had dwindled to a flicker. We talked about work, about bills, about plans for the weekend. We rarely talked about us, about our dreams, about the fears that kept us awake. I felt a growing emptiness, a quiet desperation that I dared not voice, even to myself. It felt ungrateful to feel anything but contentment. Then Alex arrived at the office. He was new, energetic, full of life. He had a way of looking at you, of listening, that made you feel like you were the only person in the room. He laughed easily, and made me laugh too. A deep, unrestrained laugh I realized I hadn't let out in years. We started having lunch together, then coffee after work. Just a quick chat, he said. It felt innocent. It felt harmless. It felt like breathing fresh air after being confined in a stuffy room for too long. He asked about my day, not just as a courtesy, but with genuine interest. He remembered details I had mentioned weeks ago. He paid attention. Mark was busy with his demanding job, with his own worries. He was always there, but somehow never fully present. Alex filled that void. He saw me, or at least I thought he did. He saw the woman beneath the wife, the professional, the homemaker. He saw Sarah, not just Mark's Sarah. The thought sent a jolt through me, a mixture of exhilaration and deep unease. The line blurred slowly, insidiously. A shared dinner after a late project turned into lingering glances. A hand brushing mine accidentally on purpose. The electricity was undeniable, exhilarating, terrifying. My heart pounded every time his name appeared on my phone screen, a secret thrill that both shamed and excited me. I started staying late at work, inventing excuses for Mark, about deadlines, about team meetings. The lies tasted bitter, but the excitement they bought was a potent antidote to the quiet ache within me. One night, after a particularly stressful week at work and an even more emotionally draining silence at home, Alex walked me to my car. The air was crisp, the stars were bright. He stopped by my door, his hand resting gently on my arm. His eyes were warm and tense. He leaned in slowly, his gaze never leaving mine. I could have pulled away. I should have pulled away. But I didn't. I leaned in too. His lips were soft, urgent, intoxicating. The world spun, and for a fleeting moment, all the guilt, all the doubt, all the quiet emptiness vanished. There was only this moment, this touch, this forbidden connection. That kiss was the first step down a path I knew was wrong. It was a plunge into a world of stolen moments, hurried texts, clandestine meetings. The affair became a heavy cloak I wore everywhere, a secret burden that both exhilarated and suffocated me. With Alex I felt alive, vibrant, desired. With Mark I felt numb, a ghost walking through the motions of a life that no longer felt entirely mine. The guilt was a constant companion, a dull throb beneath the surface of my manufactured happiness. Every time Mark touched me, every time he smiled, I felt a searing wave of shame. I was living a lie, a meticulously constructed facade. My life became a carefully choreographed dance of deceit. Early mornings, late nights, excuses built upon excuses. I became an expert at looking Mark in the eye and lying with a smile. My phone was a lifeline in a cage, a source of secret messages and constant paranoia. I checked it obsessively, guarded it fiercely. Every call, every text from Alex was a dangerous thrill, a risk that made my heart race. I lost sleep, I lost my appetite. The constant anxiety gnawed at me. But the lure of Alex's attention, the intoxicating feeling of being wanted, was a powerful drug. It dulled the pain of my conscience. It silenced the persistent voice of reason. I started seeing Mark through a different lens, a critical one. His habits, his quiet nature, his predictable routines became irritating rather than comforting. I found fault where none existed. I picked fights to create distance to justify my own betrayal. I became cold distant. Mark noticed. He asked if something was wrong, if I was unhappy. I blamed work. I blamed stress. I blamed everything but the truth. His concern felt like an accusation. His love felt like a heavy chain. I hated myself for hurting him, but I couldn't stop. I felt trapped, caught between two worlds, neither of which felt entirely real or sustainable. The inevitable eventually arrived. It always does. It was a Tuesday evening, a perfectly ordinary night. Mark was home early, a rare occurrence. I had forgotten my phone at home, a cardinal sin for someone living a double life. A text message vibrated on the kitchen counter, its screen flashing. Alex's name, the first line of the message visible. I was in the shower. Mark was making dinner. He saw it. He picked up my phone. I heard his voice, a tremor I had never heard before. "Sarah." He called out, his voice strained, thin. My heart plummeted. I knew. I knew without seeing his face, without hearing another word. The water in the shower suddenly felt icy cold. The world went silent. I wrapped a towel around myself, my hands shaking, my stomach churning. He stood in the hallway, phone still in his hand, his face, pale eyes wide with a pain so raw, so profound, it mirrored the agony I felt inside. His gaze was fixed on me, unblinking, dissecting. He didn't need to say anything. The words hung in the air, unspoken, heavier than any accusation. "Alex?" He whispered, his voice barely audible, a question and a statement all at once. My meticulously constructed world of lies shattered into a million pieces around me. There was no denying it, no explanation that could soften the blow. The truth was ugly, brutal, unforgiving. I confessed everything, the words tumbling out in a torrent of shame and regret. I watched his face crumple, watched the light leave his eyes, saw the moment his heart broke. It was a horrific spectacle, a tragedy I had orchestrated myself. His pain was a physical entity in the room, a suffocating weight. He didn't rage, he didn't scream. He simply looked at me, a woman he had loved, trusted, built a life with, as if he had never truly known me. The betrayal was complete, and its consequences immediate. The days and weeks that followed were a blur of tears, accusations, and profound despair. Our home, once a sanctuary, became a battleground of broken promises and shattered dreams. Mark moved out first, taking only a few essential belongings, leaving behind a gaping hole where our shared life used to be. The divorce was swift and painful, a stark confirmation of the irreversible damage I had done. Friends took sides or retreated, uncomfortable with the wreckage. My reputation was in tatters, my self-respect evaporated. Alex, true to his nature, vanished. The thrill of the forbidden had lost its luster now that it was exposed to the harsh light of reality. He didn't want the drama, he said. He didn't want the complications. He was a fleeting fantasy, a distraction that had left me with nothing but ashes. The intoxicating high of his attention was replaced by a crushing loneliness, a profound emptiness, far deeper than the one that had driven me to him in the first place. I moved into a small apartment, my life stripped bare. Every day was a battle against the crushing weight of regret. I replayed every moment, every lie, every stolen kiss. The image of Mark's broken face haunted my waking hours and invaded my dreams. I had destroyed something beautiful, something precious, something irreplaceable. I had taken a stable, loving relationship and reduced it to dust, driven by a selfish, misguided quest for something I believed was missing. The lessons were harsh and unforgiving. Infidelity does not solve problems. It only creates new ones, larger, more devastating. It doesn't fill a void, it deepens it. It leaves a trail of destruction, not just for the betrayed, but for the betrayer too. The illusion of happiness with Alex was just that, an illusion. True happiness, contentment, the deep satisfaction of a lasting bond are built on trust, respect, honesty. I had sacrificed all of that for a fleeting thrill. Months turned into a year. The acute pain slowly dulled, but the scars remained a constant reminder of my choices. I learned to live with the silence, not the comfortable quiet of shared life, but the echoing emptiness of solitude. I learned to face myself in the mirror, to acknowledge the woman who made those choices, to begin the long, slow, arduous process of forgiveness, not from others but from myself. It was a journey of self-discovery born from immense pain. I am still on that journey, still learning, still carrying the weight of what I did. The woman who sought validation outside her marriage is gone, replaced by one who understands the true cost of betrayal, the profound value of integrity. Some mistakes leave indelible marks, a permanent reminder of the fragile nature of trust and the devastating power of a single destructive choice. I may never fully escape the shadow of my past, but I am determined to walk forward, carrying my lessons, learning to live with the quiet grief of what was lost, what was broken, what can never truly be put back together again.